good morning.
Good morning, Sarah.
I take it you too think the Prime Minister should resign?
This is a matter of a question about the authority of the Prime Minister. We were saying a few days ago that either he wasn't telling the truth or that he wasn't in control. Now, the story we're hearing is that he did not know, and therefore the truth question is perhaps parked. But the question of control, as head of government, a Prime Minister not knowing fundamental issues that were at play within his government that would have a deep impact on people's views of that government, its activities, I think that begs the most serious of questions about his authority.
Does this whole imbroglio really put independence from Westminster further up your agenda?
Well, the question of independence isn't a question for this particular election, but the question of the relationship between Wales and Westminster, absolutely yes. That's at the core of this election. What people tell us time and time again, day after day, is that they want a government that's willing to stand up for Wales, make the case for Wales, be determined and relentless in making the case for more powers to control our future and more funds in order to give us the fairness that we deserve. Now, what we've seen is a degradation in belief that Labour stood for Wales, both through the actions of Keir Starmer in not being particularly interested in Wales, and in Labour in Wales failing to stand up to him. So yes, absolutely, that's at the heart of this election. What we can do in Wales to stand up for ourselves against the indifference of a UK government, be that under Conservative or Labour leadership.
All the same, though, if you manage to get into government, you want to be more than a protest group, as it were, a supplicant to Westminster. Presumably, you're going to want to look forward to a referendum on independence. When will that be if you become First Minister?
Well, people in Wales, of course, know full well that in our 100 years plus history, Plaid Cymru is much more, of course, than a protest party. It is a party that has had a vision for Wales for decades, for generations, and now people believe we may be in a position to lead government for the very first time. Now, that discussion on where we take Wales is a live one. As I say, independence isn't a question for this election, but very much it's about how we reach our potential. And that ultimately is what the constitutional question is about. Are we reaching our potential? No. Is this the best things could get for Wales? No. What can we in Wales do with a Wales-based party? It's only Plaid Cymru that holds that mantle. What can we do with a Wales-based government to take Wales forward? And people are showing a greater level of belief in what we can achieve for them than ever before.
Well, look, as they say, to governors to choose. So let's talk about some of the choices that you might make. You've got this new electoral system. You elect 96 members of the Welsh Assembly. The likelihood is that there's going to have to be some kind of coalition. Is there any party with which you would never cooperate?
I'd correct you. It's not inevitable that there has to be a coalition. Coalition is one means by which parties can work together. And I've made it clear that should we be able to win the trust of the people of Wales in the way I hope we can, Plaid Cymru would be able to form a minority government. But that would be a government that would be explicit in wanting to form agreements with other people on issues where we have common ground, on passing legislation, on passing budgets, on getting things done on behalf of the people of Wales, and on who we wouldn't work for. I've made it clear that they wouldn't be working with Reform because they are diametrically opposed, as far as I can see, to everything that Plaid Cymru stands for. So this is maturity. We're still not used in these islands, really, to having proportional systems where you don't have majority governments. We've never had a majority government in the history of devolution, and that's probably going to continue. But what you need then is that maturity to get things done by people working together.
So what you're saying is that if you were to become the largest party, you'd prefer to govern as a minority. Let's talk about what you might want to do. You're promising to recruit 100 new GPs. You're promising to pay 15,000 children £10 a week to deal with child poverty, around £7.5 million each year. Where's that money coming from?
Well, the programme for government that we've put together, it's under the tight constraints of the financial situation that we find ourselves in. Either the money that we know is coming, obviously, for the year 2026-27, or what we can reasonably assume will be the funding envelope for the 3 subsequent years of a Plaid Cymru government. So our programme for government is predicated on what we already have. So, yes, there are ambitious plans there, but nobody would expect a Plaid Cymru government to come in and just carry on doing what Labour have been doing, because that hasn't been working well for Wales. So we'll do things differently with a high level of ambition, but with a deliverable programme, which we know we have. And at the same time, of course, we have a situation where we're still not getting the fair funding that we should be getting from Westminster. You'll have heard me talking before about the £4.5 billion owed to Wales because of HS2 rail in England. Imagine what we could do for our infrastructure here. Our ability to control our natural resources by having the Crown Estate devolved to Wales. These are issues on which Plaid Cymru will be relentless in making the case to UK government for the changes that matter to the people of Wales.
Looking at your manifesto, essentially you say you want more control over taxes, which means, unless you're going to tell me you want to control them so you can lower them, means higher taxes. You want to borrow more money from the UK government through the and take more money out of reserves, and you want to get more money out of Westminster. Do you seriously expect all of that to happen? And actually, is that the reason that you're not really pushing independence? You want to make sure you can get your hand into Westminster's pocket?
Well, it's not about that, is it? We are in the United Kingdom, Trevor. So when we are told that the United Kingdom works for Wales, well, it's up to the United Kingdom to show that it works for Wales. And I would make the argument very strongly, and as do more and more people in Wales, that ain't the case. So we make the case for the Westminster making decisions that would allow us to do things in a different way around fair funding, on borrowing powers, on taxation powers. And would I want to lower taxes? Yes, absolutely. For the people who can least afford it, I would like to help them through the taxation system. The problem that we have in Wales is we have some taxation powers, but they're so blunt. They're difficult to use. We can vary some of the measures that have been put in place for England. Our workforce, our employment patterns are different in Wales. We want to be able to build a taxation system around our situation, not the southeast of England. That makes sense to most people.
Oh, so to be clear, if you were to get control of tax policy, Welsh residents could expect lower taxes from Plaid?
I believe in a progressive taxation system. I believe that those who have the broadest shoulders should be paying a little bit more. But we can't
so higher taxes
have a
in
discussion
that case.
Well, no, we can't have a discussion around hypotheticals around taxation without knowing what powers we have. And remember that taxation, or the money that you have in a Welsh treasury, is not just about the taxes that you raise from individuals. It's about the vibrancy in the economy and the additional money that we can bring in from growing the Welsh economy. And Plaid Cymru, centrally to our plans, is to build a stronger Welsh economy with better jobs, more jobs in all parts of Wales, to build that pot around economic growth.
OK, Rhun, Iorwerth, thank you so much for your time this morning.